Hello, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Chris and I'm one of the content and training specialists here at Shortcuts. So what we're going to be going through this morning is our business reporting and KPIs, key performance indicators. Now, for this morning's masterclass, we have roughly, let's just have a quick look, probably got around 7 to 10 reports plus a few extra things to go through as well. I'm going to try my absolute best to get through as many reports. I've got a lot I do want to show you, but at the same time, I'm going to try and mix it up. A lot of them are going to be business related, but I'm going to throw a few extra ones in there just to sort of break it up. I appreciate on this Monday morning, just as we get back into the new week, you might not want to be going through some full in-depth reports, but we'll try and split the reports up as much as possible. So if this is your first time joining me, welcome to our Shortcuts Masterclasses. And as always, it's always fantastic to have my regulars. So welcome one and all. So just before we get into it, there is a little bit of background information if you've never been on any of our Shortcuts Masterclasses before. So the duration of the webinar is going to be approximately 60 minutes. I may go over on this one, I'll be totally honest, because I do want to show you quite a lot of reports and there's a lot of information to take in. As always, my microphone has been switched on, whereas everyone else has automatically been muted. But as always, if you do want to have a chat with me, you can unmute yourself, you can ask me to unmute you, and we'll have a little chat and go through a few bits and bobs there together. Your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar, and those questions will be taken during or at the end of the webinar using the chat box. We do always record our masterclasses, but if there's ever a pause when you watch it back, it may be I'm just answering a little question from there. So we're going to jump straight into it for this morning, ladies and gents. Usually we have a PowerPoint presentation, but we're going to jump straight into the live demonstration. Like we said, we've got around 5 to 10 different reports to show you this morning. But as always, if you do want to chat with me further, you can email me at education@shortcuts.co.uk, or you can give us a call on 0161 972 4900, and it's option 1 and then option 4 to get through to me. And if you've not signed up for our masterclasses for our website, or if you've not following us on our social media handles, please do. You'll always see these advertised on there, as well as some top tips and tricks and news and things like that. The handle for that is instagram.com/shortcutsuk and facebook.com/shortcutsuk. Excellent stuff. So from here, ladies and gents, what we are going to do is jump straight into our live demonstration for this. I'm going to start by opening up my Shortcuts Fusion system. Okay, so we've opened up our Shortcuts Fusion system. Now, just before we get into the live demonstration of reporting, it is worth noting, ladies and gents, that I'm obviously just going to show you predominantly reports and bits and bobs like that for this morning. So before we get started, the majority of our reports do open up in exactly the same way. You can edit them, but the layout, the general consensus of the layout is exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is to not make you lose interest this morning. I'm just going to show you how to open up our reports in case you've never viewed our reports before. And then we'll just jump straight into all of the reports, because like I said, they all open up in exactly the same way to make your life a little bit easier. So we've got a whole host of reports, some nice straightforward ones, some in-depth reporting ones, in-depth business ones. We're going to go through like transactions, no-shows, employee, or different range of things across your business. So to have a look at your reports, all we need to do on the right-hand side of our navigation bar is click onto Tools, and then directly underneath, we're just going to click onto Reports. Now, once we've clicked onto Reports, on the left-hand side, you'll have all your report categories. They usually go in alphabetical order, but you can also click at the top and just swizzle them around if you want to, if you want it to go sort of backwards alphabetically. So we've got all of our report categories here, and we can expand the report category by clicking the plus sign to the left-hand side. And that will reveal a specific report within that category. Once you've chosen a report, to the right-hand side, you will notice there is a description just to sort of help you out to really make an informed decision as to whether that is the particular report for you. Now, also, if you ever look at any of these reports in this particular masterclass and you think, well, I don't have any of those, there may be a small possibility you've made the report inactive. So, for example, you may have clicked on it and taken a tick out of the active box in the top right-hand corner there. If you think you may have done that, or you can't find a particular report I'm about to show you, just tick the Show Me Inactive box in the bottom left-hand corner. Now, I don't think anyone would have done that. It's not really common practice, but just in case, this is a Shortcuts masterclass, in case you are looking at these reports and thinking, I don't have that report, Chris, not a problem. Just click in the bottom left-hand corner and you should be able to find it. So we're going to get started with our reports, and we're going to start with the appointments category in the top left-hand corner. Now, the first report I'm going to look at is value of future appointments just here, okay? So I'm going to click onto value of future appointments, and we can see the description in the top right-hand corner. So this is really the only sort of report I'm going to demonstrate for this morning where we actually look into the future. Majority of reports will obviously have previous data in order to create that report, but this particular report is the value of future appointments, and it's great with the lead up to Christmas in case you're thinking about doing any marketing or any offers like that. So value of future appointments. So once we've selected the relevant report, down the bottom of the screen, you will have this view icon just here. So we can click onto view, and then we'll get a window open. So as I said at the beginning, the majority of our reports, if not all of them, all open up in exactly the same way. So I'm only going to sort of really show this to once. So once we've got this window here, in the top left, the first thing we're going to ascertain is the date range. So when we click onto the date range, you can choose from one of our default date ranges just here. So we've got current day, current week, current fortnight, current month, and you'll notice this changes it for you, just to make your life nice and easy. You've also got last day, last week, last month, and last year, and also next day, next week, next month, and next year. So that's a way to use our default date ranges, but you can, of course, here as well, choose a specific single day. And you can also create your own custom date range by clicking onto the range icon here and then selecting the relevant date. Now you can move your calendar up and down if you need to. Now when we look at the calendar here, you'll notice we've got a black section here and like a light grey section here. And as we scroll down, light grey, black, light grey, black. That really just indicates where one month ends and another begins. You can also select a relevant date up the top here as well. To the left-hand side, you'll also have the employees screen here. So if this is a particular report, you maybe just want to have a look at one employee, you can filter the employees on the left-hand side. You can use your multi-select tabs, which are the 6 grey dots, to multi-select specific employees. But by default, it will be all employees if you do not select a specific employee. If this is a stock report, this will have stock information such as products and things like that. And underneath that, again, the majority of our reports will have this MISC icon or miscellaneous, which will allow you to change certain parameters. The parameters will change depending on the report. So this one's got show definitions, sometimes it's show graphs, sometimes it's show VAT inclusive or exclusive, sometimes it's show top 10, top 20, whatever it may be. You can specify those parameters if you need to. So, as we said, the majority of our reports all open up in the same way with those configurable options there, such as the date range, the employees or the service options, and the miscellaneous options too. So to get started with our first report, we're going to take a look at value of future appointments, and I'm going to set the date range for the next week or so. So I'm going to look at today and just go a week into the future. To view the report, we're just going to click View in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, when we've got our report open, you'll have some options around the top and down the center bottom of our screen. Along the top, you can print, and you can also email, and you can also zoom in. So for example, we're looking at 88%, but I might want to have a look at 100%. We can also zoom out a little bit as well, which is a little bit difficult to see, I appreciate, on the masterclass. If you've got certain pages along the top here, you can also skip between the pages at the top here. Towards the bottom left-hand corner, you can search for something specific. So we can click onto that, and then we can search for something, maybe an employee or a product or something like that. So you can see I've just searched for myself there. You can also zoom in by clicking onto the zoom icon, and then you can just zoom in a little bit further if you need to. You can skip through the pages down the bottom as well, just using your arrow keys forward or backwards. You can also print and change the printer setup if necessary. Now, if you wish to, maybe you don't want to print it out, you can export this particular report out to a PDF or a CSV or something like that if you wish to email it across to somebody else. And again, all of our reports will have that functionality. So now we've taken a look at how we can edit and sort of, tweak and configure our reports, and we also now know how to export and print them. We can actually get into the, the reporting side of things. So the value of future appointments. This report will show you the value of appointments booked into the future. Now, naturally, this will change if they change their appointment or they have a discount or anything like that. So straight away, we can see a total of £430 and 31 pence, and that's booked over the next 6 days for all employees. So we can see at face value, we've got just over £400. Now, underneath this, you can see what it is split between. So if we just zoom in just ever so slightly, we can see for this particular report, Chris is set to bring in 36% of all of the appointments, which equates to £154 and 20 pence. We can also see Rachel is bringing in 33% and has a value of 140, Sam of 30, £130, Amy 1% and £6. So it's a great way as we look at this report. It's great to see how much money we're going to bring in. Are we going to clear our overheads? Everything like that. But at the same time, who's bringing in the most money? Do we have just the one employee that's bringing in a lot of money and sort of carrying it for everyone else? Or do we have a particular employee that really isn't very busy at all? Is that because that's a new employee or just not very busy? So we can start to look at things like marketing. Do we need to increase, the productivity of that staff member? Now, if we scroll to the right ever so slightly, we can see we've got a nice little bar graph. Now, the bar graph really just represents the same information to the left-hand side. Just going to zoom out slightly. The bar graph really just represents the same information to the left-hand side, but it's a great way to draw comparisons because, as we can see, we've got a great differentiation between the bar graphs. Then as we scroll down, you can also see for the month. So maybe you want to see October to November. Maybe you want to draw comparisons between September, October and November. So you're thinking, okay, September, we were quite busy. We're hopefully going to go that way for October. We're hopefully going to go that way for November. So it's a great report moving forward to be like, okay, that's how much money we're set to bring in. Do we need to do some marketing or anything like that? Excellent stuff. So we're off and running. That is the value of our future appointments. So a great way to see over the next week or next 2 weeks. I probably wouldn't go much more than maybe a month or 2 months, depending on how busy you get booked up. But if you're watching this as a particularly busy salon with lots of employees, maybe you want to look over the next sort of 2 to 3 months and maybe start thinking about January as well. To close the report down, all we're going to do is just click done in the bottom right-hand corner. So that was our first report there, the value of future appointments. So I'm going to go back up to the top now, and we're going to look at appointment roster analysis. Now, appointment roster analysis is really analyzing how busy your staff are. And there's a particular reason I want to show this particular report, because it's a great way for appraisals and also just to see how busy your staff are. But there's a few things with this particular report that can really throw it out. So for example, if I click onto view, and again, we've got the same configurable options. The first thing I'm going to do is click onto my employees, and I'm just going to select Amy by clicking Amy and click add. Again, I'm just going to keep the date range just for today for this particular aspect of the report, and I'm going to click view. Now, this report will show you how busy your staff are in comparison to the hours they worked. And the reason I've split this report down is for two reasons. Because A, if you look at a lot of employees at once, it can be quite difficult to grasp it the first time you look at it. And the second reason is there's something very specific that can affect this report. So we can see we're only looking at for today. So just remember, we're only looking at for today, Monday the 30th, and we're only looking at Amy. So we can see the percentage of rostered time booked. So we can see Amy is roughly booked out for today around 90% of her day. So if I just zoom in just ever so slightly, we can see that there's around 90% of the hours rostered. Then as we scroll down, this is the bit I really like, the rostered versus booked time. So the hours rostered, the hours she was scheduled to work, in comparison to the hours she was booked out. So you've got the hours on the left-hand side here. And we've got the days down the bottom here. And we've got this little color key just here. So we can see the hours rostered, which is the red. That's the hours she was scheduled to work. And the hours she was booked with clients. So we can see here, she's practically fully booked. So as we can see, the blue is rubbing shoulders with the red, which is great. In an ideal world, in a super busy salon, this is exactly what we would want. We would want our employees to be pretty much fully booked, and we can see this just here. So yeah, that's exactly what we would want him to be looking at. So we can see hours rostered versus hours booked, pretty much fully booked. But there is a reason I've shown you this in particular. So if we go to our appointment diary and have a look at Amy for today, we can see she actually has a task scheduled out for a meeting the entire day. So in reality, she's actually busy with clients. She's booked out for a meeting, which is, great. Maybe she does have all day meetings. So she probably does, which is perfectly fine. However, the reason I'm showing this is some salons, when it comes to marking a staff as day off or sick or holiday, we tend to do this. We click onto the column, we click schedule a task, and we can do things like day off, and we can drag it all the way down, which does work perfectly fine. But as you can imagine, if you run that report and forget that Gareth in reality had a day off today, or maybe he was sick, it's going to look like he was extremely busy. So always bear that in mind. For that particular report, always bear in mind if you've scheduled a task, that will show on here, because essentially a task is supposed to be used as a way if that employee is busy. So that's in particular why I've shown you that report there. I'm just going to click back, and I'm just going to now have a look at everyone. So if I just remove everyone, and I'm just going to have a look at everyone for today. So you can see when you've got a lot of employees, it can be a bit tricky at face value because you've got all of your color keys on the right-hand side here. It just makes it a little bit tricky. So what I tend to do is choose a specific employee and scroll down to the rostered versus booked time. And you can see it just highlights it there. So again, we've got the blue section, that's the hours booked out with customers, or remember if we've scheduled a task. And we've got the reddy purple section for rostered hours. Now, if you're struggling to sort of decipher the sort of exact figures just here, what I like to do, just underneath, we can see it just here in facts and figures. So we can see the times booked out with customers is 4 hours. And the hours rostered, 9.5 hours. Giving this person an efficiency of 42%, essentially meaning he was busy with customers 42% of the day or the week or the month of the year. Now, in an ideal world, what we would tend to say for a busy salon and a busy employee, we would be looking for at least 75%, because of course they're booked up 3/4 of their time. So that is a great report moving forward. Perhaps you've got a new staff member that tells you they're going to be super busy, or you just want to see for appraisals coming up to see where improvements can be made. That is our appointment roster analysis. A firm favorite report of mine. I absolutely love that one. Now, the last report we're going to look under appointments, just so we can get through it. With 20 minutes in already, I do apologize if we go over. The report I'm going to look at just very quickly now is no-show statistics. So we've all been there. We right-click the client when they no-show. Now, this particular report, please bear in mind, you do have to allow for the day to totally lapse. Okay, so you will notice, I think I have a no-show for today, just there. For the report to be accurate, you do have to wait for the entire day to lapse, just in case they turn up later or reschedule or something like that. So the entire day does have to lapse. But you will notice I do have a no-show on the 27th of October. So if we go to Tools and Reports again, and if we have a look at our no-show statistics. So again, what I'm going to do is just navigate to the 27th. So this particular report is fantastic. We know how much no-shows and last-minute cancellations and things like that really cost us as a business. This is a great way to get a handle on that and really think to yourself, okay, do I need to implement a more, a more strict cancellation policy. Thank you. A more strict cancellation policy. Or maybe you want to introduce shortcuts cancellation fees. We can talk about that later if necessary. So what we're going to do is we're going to click View in the bottom right. So what we can see at the top here. So the reason I like this particular report is because a lot of the times we only think of no-shows as customers that we sort of right-click and mark as a no-show. But this particular report, you can see here, total no-shows including non-arrivals. So at face value, we can see for October, that'll be Friday the 27th of October. We can see the number or the percentage of contacted clients who did not show. So if they were not sent a text message reminder, and percentage of non-contacted clients who did not show. So as if they weren't sent a text message reminder. So again, we could be looking at this and thinking, well, my client that didn't show, wasn't contacted. Perhaps we should look at implementing shortcuts text message reminders. Bookings marked as no-show. So just bear that in mind. Bookings marked as a no-show. That's where we right-click and mark it as a no-show. Total no-shows, including non-arrivals. So we've now got two. So we've got a total no-shows, but it's also include clients that were not arrived. And then we've got the value of no-shows and the total bookings and the number of no-shows as a percentage of total bookings. So that means here, of all of the appointments we had booked in, all of my clients, or two of them, all of my clients booked in for that day no-showed. So again, let's go back to this here. Bookings marked as no-show 1, total no-shows including non-arrivals. So if we go back to my appointments, you'll notice I've got 1 marked as a no-show, and I've also got this client here that was not marked as arrived, you know, when we right-click and arrived. So also as well, ladies and gents, if you do not right-click and arrive that client, they can go down as a no-show. Now, again, if you're wanting to keep on top of those no-shows, it will throw your figures and your data out for this particular report. So that's why it's important. I've shown this particular aspect. If that client did arrive, always make sure you arrive them. Now, naturally, if they were to pay, when you check the client out, they arrived anyway, but just in case it was a free of charge or something like that. And in this masterclass, I want this to be 100% accurate on everything. So always bear that in mind. But of course, as well, we really want to keep an eye on those no-shows. We want to make sure it's not costing us too much money. And then, of course, down the bottom here, we've got those clients. So from here, do we need to add any alerts onto that client? You know, did we mark them as a no-show? Yes, but then did we add an alert or a note to say they've no-showed again? You know, and they've cost us a fair amount of money between them. So a great report to be keeping an eye on, especially on the lead up to Christmas. Okay, and that's no-show statistics there. So just as we move through, we're 30 minutes into our masterclass already, we're just going to expand business, and we're going to go down to takings comparison. Now, this I think is a great report leading up to Christmas, but also on the back end of Christmas when we get into Jan and Feb. Now, the reason I'm going to show you this report, your takings comparison, is it will show you the sort of days of the week and the days of the month that you brought in certain amount of money. So we click onto takings comparison and click view. I'm going to look at the entire month again. So we're going to just use our default date range here, current month. And we're going to click view. Now, what we've got here, we've got the start of the week, and it's sort of each beginning of the week just here. So again, I'm going to zoom in just so we can really see this. So we can see we've got Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday if you do need to scroll to the right. So this particular report at face value is fantastic to be like, okay, first and foremost, are people spending their money on which day? Is it a Monday? Is it a Tuesday? Is it a Wednesday? Is it a Thursday? Is it a Friday? Or a Saturday? Okay. Then when we've ascertained what day they're spending their money on, are they spending it at the beginning of the week, middle of the week, or the end of the week? Now, naturally, when you look at this, you will probably look at it and see, okay, people are spending it on Fridays and Saturdays, and they're spending it at the beginning of the month and the end of the month. This is probably due to payday. But you may also look at it and think, okay, well, we seem to do more on a Wednesday than we do on a Tuesday, or maybe we do more on a Tuesday than we do on a Wednesday. Is this because we are open? Is this because we're closed? Do we have more staff members on a Tuesday than we do on a Wednesday? But also looking back, did we run an offer for that particular month and that particular week? Did we do a happy hour? Did we do a Halloween offer? Do we want to run that offer again throughout Christmas? It's a great way to draw comparisons of the days of the week for the month. And also, sometimes I've sort of dropped myself in it a little bit with this one, so hopefully it's going to be okay. What we sometimes do on a lead up to Christmas, occasionally, we may be open on a Sunday. Okay, for example, now I know I'm not open here on a Sunday or a Saturday even, but maybe, you know, for a couple of extra days throughout the busy period, we're open on a Sunday. Then we can draw comparisons in Jan and Feb, but maybe think to yourself, okay, was it worth being open on a Sunday? You know, we were busy throughout Christmas. Should we trial it in January? Should we trial it in February? But it's a great way to look at it and say, okay, this is where people are spending their money. And we may look at it and think, okay, well, yeah, people are spending their money at the beginning of the month and at the end of the month, and Fridays and Saturdays. Do we need to do a midweek offer? Do we need to do a happy hour offer? Do we need to do a midweek blow dry offer? Something like that, a great way to increase revenue throughout like the quieter aspects. So business takings comparison, I think, is a great report to look at. And we should all be looking at that one in particular. So business takings comparison. Now, I know a lot of you watching will be using our shortcuts upfront payments, but some of you may be manually taking deposits, okay, maybe taking them over the phone or face to face. And if you are doing this, you should be adding it to the client's account. Sometimes people do this if they want to pay for their service in advance as well. They put money on their account. If you're not quite sure exactly what I mean when I say that, just let me know in the chat box. But we should be adding money to a client's account, which essentially means they've got money left to pay later on. So sometimes also people do this as an IOU. I don't personally recommend because it can get a bit messy. But if you do have like a negative account balance or anything like that, we should always be keeping an eye on the client's account, okay, or their statement to see, are they in debit with us? Are they in credit with us? So this particular report here, client's account statements, again, under the business section, client's account statements. So we're going to click view. And you can keep it at the current month. I probably would. I'd keep it at the current day, sorry, just because they may have paid the balance off today or something like that, or spend their money. So if we just click onto view, we can see a list of all of our clients on the left-hand side here. So for example, we can see today, Chris had an opening balance of £44 in credit, which essentially means he's got £44 on his account left to spend. And his closing balance for today is still £44. So he put money on his account, or he's paid a deposit, and he is £44 in credit. That's what the CR on the right-hand side stands for, in credit. Let's see if we can find someone. So we can see here, we've got Laura Jones. She is £650 in debit with us, and that's what the DR stands for on the right-hand side just here. So she's £650 in debit. So let's see if we can find Laura Jones in our client list. So when we click onto this here, you'll notice we've got this red section just here. So she owes us £650 in debit to us. That is because she may have owed us some money, or she didn't have her purse when she came in to pay, and we put her into a negative account balance. That means she would need to settle that balance. Essentially, she owes us £600, which is why this particular report, client account statements, is great, especially for your accountants to go, okay, well, she obviously owes us some money. Maybe she didn't pay in full for a treatment or a series or something like that. So it's great. We should all be keeping an eye on that, especially on the lead up to Christmas or the end of the year, end of quarter, if any clients are owing us any money and are in debit to us just there. So DR for debit and CR for credit. And again, we can see what the in credit looks like. We just search for that client. I think it was me, ironically. If we click onto that there, yeah, we can see just there in green, £44 in credit. So this particular client has £44 on his or her account to spend. And that was our client account statements. Now, just a very quick report we're going to have a little look at is if we scroll down, we're going to go to clients just here, okay? And we're going to look at client profile accuracy. Now, as we know, especially with coronavirus, when we needed to contact our clients, it was very difficult because we didn't have their emails or we didn't have their mobile number or something like that. And especially if you are wanting to move forward with marketing, it's a great way to see just what data we have on our clients and how accurate their profiles are. So this particular report, I'm going to click on to view. You'll notice I can't set a date range for this because it's all client data, so there's no real date range. But when we look at this, we can think, okay, so we've got 1% of our profiles complete, which isn't really a problem per se. 40% home address, almost 50% we've got the postcode, 10% we've got the home phone number, 60% almost, or 58% almost we've got for the mobile number, very important for text message reminders and confirmations, 35% email addresses. And then we've got the birthday and the birth month, birth year, age group, gender, and referral. So that's great to understand your demographics and your client profile. Again, we can use that information for targeted marketing and just simple things like text message reminders. But if we scroll down, again, we've made it nice and simple. We can see the information just here. So we can see we've got 68 clients with a postcode, 81 profiles with a mobile number, and that's 57.86%. And we can see that information there. But then what about if we click the blue details icon to the right-hand side? This will show us then a mobile phone not specified. So whilst we can't really use this information for targeted marketing or anything like that, you may wish to just keep a note of it, or maybe use this listing and maybe put a note or an alert on a future appointment, perhaps for Mikey or James or Samuel, and just say next time they're in, can we take their mobile number? It will make text message reminders and subsequent marketing much easier. And all we did for that was we just clicked on to the blue icon that said details. Now also, okay, you might be thinking, well, how can we garner better data then? How can we get more home phone numbers or more email addresses? Or maybe this information isn't just readily available to our customers when they fill out the client profile card. Well, we're going to take a step away from reporting just for a couple of minutes, and there's something very quick and simple we can do. We can adjust the new client card. When we've got a new client visiting, we can adjust the information they fill out or we ask them to fill out. So if we go to setup on the right hand side, and if we go to configuration, and if we go to bottom left hand corner where it says general, and if we go to clients just here, along the top, we've got the new client layout just here. Now, this is the information that a client will see when we make an appointment and we get them to fill out the information. So the quick information here, such as first name, last name, mobile, home phone, and work information. Maybe we want to ensure the email address is visible. Maybe we want to ensure, the birthday is visible, just to help us get more information. Because if that information isn't visible when we're making that appointment for a client, we're not going to ask it. Or maybe we want to take it one step further. Maybe we want to make that email address, we want to make it mandatory. Now remember, ladies and gents, the quick information is this here. This is what a client will see when we make an appointment. And the reason it's called quick is to make it quick and simple to fill out. So this is what a client will see. As soon as we click new client, this is the quick information just here. Now I wouldn't go too over the top with this, understandably, because if we want it to be quick, if we're sort of spending 3 or 4 minutes doing this, it will take quite a while to make the appointment. But maybe you just want to ensure the email address is visible or the birthday is visible, so we can ask the client that information. And that's a great way there to ensure your client profile is a little bit more accurate. So that was under clients there, and that was just client profile accuracy. Now, just a very quick one on the lead up to Christmas. We're just going to breeze over this top spending clients. A very nice one moving forward. If you want to get to the end of the year, maybe you want to put a few vouchers together just for your top spending clients. So for this, I would probably keep it at the current year. And we just click view. So we can see here, I've got a client very aptly known as Test who spent by what looks like 50 million. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? We would love that. 50 million pounds spent there. Then underneath, we've got all of our clients just here. So we got their email addresses, and we've got their number of tickets. Tickets is the number of transactions that they've had, and we've got the average spend. The average spend is derived from taking the total expenditure and dividing it by the number of tickets to give you the average spend. So some quite high spenders there, and quite a high spender by the looks of it. Again, you may wish to put together like a little bit of a discount or a little thank you or something like that, just for your top spending clients on the lead up to Christmas. It's quite a nice one as well, just moving forward towards Christmas. You think, yeah, I'm going to see who my top spending clients were just there. So as we move through, we've got a little over 20 minutes. Under our employees, a fantastic report is performance summary. Now, I feel majority of you watching may have touched on the performance summary before. This is a really, really good report. So if we click on to view, and again, if we just have a look at the current week, something like that, and have a look at our performance summary just here. Now, again, the particular reason I'm going to show you this one is there's a few things that can make this report super accurate. So with our performance summary, you'll notice we've got these columns just here. Now, at face value, you may look at this and think these must be my service categories. They're not technically. These are not your service categories. I will explain what these are in just a sec. So to the left-hand side for your particular employee, we can see how many clients they saw and how much money derives from that particular category. So £4 spent from that category, £58 spent from that category, £25 from that category. Now, as you look at this, you may think, okay, well, Sam saw one client. Why has he got money for treatments, extensions, and facials? Well, that will be because this particular client had multiple services. So they visited for treatments, extensions, and facials. To the right, you can also see how many retail products were sold and a monetary value there as well, £20 and 75 pence. We can also see the total service. And in here, we can see the total revenue brought in from your service and your retail. £108 and 25 pence. Now, this is a fantastic report because it really just shows you straight away, okay, what is that employee bringing in? How much in the way of service, how much in the way of retail, but also, are they bringing in more money in colours? Are they bringing in more money in cuts and blow dries? This is also great if they said to you, I will do a lot of extensions, I will upsell a lot of treatments. And we can see this information here, whether it is the case or isn't the case. So it's a great way really to see your employee performance. But as we said when we first opened this report, these columns here, we said to ourselves, these must be our service categories. They're not. So again, I'm just going to step aside from reporting, and we're going to go to setup, and we're going to go to services. Now, down the bottom in Fusion, you've got this option here that says RPTS Categ. If you're an enterprise user, you will still have these RPTS Categ, but they will not be visible in Fusion. They are done in the Enterprise Manager setup. So just if you are an enterprise user, please just let us know if you want to see how to change the RPTS Categ. So what is an RPTS Categ? It stands for Reports Categories, which essentially means all of your services should be linked to a report category. Why should they be linked to a report category? Most importantly, for your performance summary, as we just looked at, but also your targeted marketing. So these are all of your reports categories just here. And this is what we would have seen on those columns in the performance summary. So what we like to do, we link each service to a report category so we can ascertain data for that particular service. So then, how do we link these service report categories to the services? So for example, if I expand a category, if I click a particular service and click details, you should have these tick boxes just here. And it says block 1 counts towards. It may be worth just moving forward, just checking all of your services and just making sure that service counts towards the relevant report category just down here. Now, don't worry if you notice none of these are ticked, it's not a problem. The data will still calculate in the performance summary, such as the total, but it just won't say whether it came from styling or coloring or anything like that. You can tick the box and it will calculate. So it won't sort of look as if the total was completely wrong. The total will calculate correctly, but in terms of report categories, it just won't know, was it done styling, color treatments or anything like that. So all you need to do is just backtrack and just tick the relevant one. So that there was our performance summary. So as we can see at the top, these are our RPTS categories, our report categories. And as I said, now we can see it. If you didn't have any of those categories ticked in services, the total will still calculate. It just won't do it for each individual one. So you may look at this, these may all be 0, but the total will still calculate correctly. But a great way to see what your staff are performing like and where their strong points are. And that is our performance summary. Now, another good report, I really enjoy this one, is what we call a labor versus sales. Still under the employees category, labor versus sales. And this report really is a great way to see whether that particular employee is profitable. Now, for this report to be accurate, you will need to go to Setup and Employees. And for the particular employee, you will need to have their hourly rate in there, for example, and they will also need to have a schedule or a roster. Otherwise, it will not be able to calculate their hourly rate and thus how much money they are due to be paid in the way of labor. So if we go to Tools and Reports, and if we go to Labor versus Sales, I'm going to keep this particular report very simple just so we can see how it calculates. I'm only going to choose Amy from my employee screen. And I'm only going to keep the date range for today. Now, you may wish to do this weekly or monthly because that's typically when you may pay them. But just for the purposes of this report masterclass, to keep it nice and simple, I'm only going to keep it for today. So we click View. And then let's just zoom in just a tad. So we can see here for Amy, the amount of money generated in services, nothing. Amount of money generated in retail, nothing. And therefore service percentage and retail percentage. So that would basically show you where the money is split between. Okay, so maybe it was 50% services, 50% retail. But as we can see, there's been nothing. But to the right, if we just scroll here, we can now see we didn't put a base wage in, we just put an hourly rate in of £10. And we've got hours worked. So she was just rostered today for 9.5 hours. So that basically means 10 times £9.50 gives us a total labour of £95. So that labour is how much we are due to pay this particular employee. So £95, that is her daily wage, £95. But she didn't make any money for us as a business. So we can see there is a difference of £95. So essentially, she's cost us £95. Now, when running this report, naturally, we don't want to see any figures in red because that means they owe the business money. We always want to see a positive number, and we always want to see a high percentage. Essentially, that means they are a very cost-effective employee, not like this particular one, which isn't the case in real life, if you know Amy. But in the purposes of this, you can see this particular employee is cost us a little bit of money there. So it is great moving forward to see, are they actually costing us money? Are they profitable to our business? But remember, for this to work, ladies and gents, you will need to have their roster, and you will need to at least have their hourly rate or their monthly base wage or whatever it may be inputted in the setup and employees screen just there. So just make sure you've got at least that little bit of information there and their roster. Otherwise, the report will not be accurate. So again, as we scroll down, end of day, just very quickly, trading summary. I feel a lot of us should be looking at the trading summary. It's essentially what we get printed out at the end of the day. The trading summary is the summary of the day's trading. So if we click onto view, this really gives you an overview of your entire business. Again, I'm just going to keep it just for today, make it nice and simple. So top left-hand corner, we've got the takings, we've got the cash, we've got the credit and debit cards. So you can see your two payment types there. The percentages to the right-hand side here basically give you a comparison. So we can see out of all of the money that came in, so we had a total takings of 420.85. 96% of that was in the way of cash, and just over 3% was in the way of credit and debit cards. So it's a great way to see it this way. The majority of you salons probably will be more of a cashless salon. People tend to pay more in credit and debit card, but not in the case of this one. People tend to do most of their money in cash. And we can see the total takings there. We can then also see on the right-hand side the quantity of services, exclusive and inclusive of tax, and products and sundries. Sundries, things like PPE charges or gift certificates and things like that. Now, in particular, on the left-hand side here, I am just going to outline this here. Payments to account minus £100. Now, this can sometimes be a little bit confusing. Payments to account minus £100. What this means is I came in and I paid £100 to my account, okay? So I put £100 on my account, potentially in a way as a deposit, not an upfront payment, as in an account payment. I put £100 on my account. The reason it is a minus, that is because that money is due to be spent back by me. I've put £100 on my account, but I'm going to redeem it sometime later on. So the money will be due back into the business. And purchases on account, that is when I redeemed money on my account. So I came in, had £100 on my account, and I spent 10 of it. So that's purchases on account just there. So I purchased something and used £10 from my account to do so. Then underneath here, we've got ticket averages. A ticket is what we refer to as a transaction. And then we've got the different types of clients: walk-in, new, returning, male, female, child, and unspecified. And then right down the bottom, we've also got all of this information here: the monetary value for products, services, sundry and gift cards, or gift certificates, and the total percentage. So again, another way to see who's bringing in the most amount of money there as well. And then we're just going to click done there. So that was our trading summary. And then what I'm going to do is just go down to my services, and I'm going to have a very quick look at my top. Actually, I'm going to look at my service breakdown by category. So we're going to click onto view. And this is a great way to see what kind of services we are doing. So fantastic if you've just taken on a nail technician or a barber, or you've maybe just introduced a new service. Maybe you're now doing nails, or you've just started doing extensions and things like that. It's a great way to see where the money is coming in. So as we look at this here, we've got our color and we've got fashion colors. So we did a quantity of 1, okay, and that we didn't actually bring any money in for that. And then we can see our barber, cut and finish, and our dry cut. So we can see straight away we're doing less dry cuts than we are cuts and finishes. We've got the quantity just there, and the monetary value for each one. The average expenditure there, so again, the average is taken from the total and dividing it by the quantity, and that just gives you your average spend there. Now to the right of this, we've got this blue section here, the percentage of money. So out of all of the money that came into the business, if we think of this as like a big pie chart, out of all of the money that came into the business, 28% of the money was in the way of cuts and finishes, but just 2% of it was in the way of a dry cut. So looking at this, for today, the majority of our money came in the way of cuts and finishes. And then we can also see the percentage quantity. So out of all of the services that we did today, 22% of them were cuts and finishes. Now, this is also a great way to see if we're doing a lot of services, but is it really bringing in a chunk of money? And that could be we're not charging enough for that service, or we're charging quite a substantial amount, maybe in the way of extensions. So we can see here for dry cut. So we can see the average spend on a dry cut was just £3, which of course is very low. So over 10% of all of the services I did for today were dry cuts. So we can see that just there. However, out of all the money that came into the business, it was only 2% as a dry cut. So we're doing quite a lot of them, but it's only bringing in a very small amount of money. So we could look at this and think, okay, well, £3 is not a very much money to be charging for a dry cut. We need to increase that. So this is a great report for that, to be thinking, okay, we're doing a lot of those services, we're not charging enough. Or you might look at this and think, okay, well, I only did 2 of those services and it brought in a lot of money. That could be potentially in the way of like Botox and extensions and things like that. So that's a great report to keep an eye on things like that. And then just very, very quickly, just over 5 minutes, I'm just going to go to transactions because I know some of you may be doing discounts, some of you may not be doing discounts. But we're going to have a look at discount reason breakdown. Now, in particular, the reason I'm going to look at this is I always say to people, especially when we do marketing, if you're ever going to give any discount in your marketing campaigns, maybe a birthday campaign or a Christmas campaign, always link it to a discount reason. Don't just take money off the client's bill at the point of sale screen. The reason we can do that is so we can track it in your return on investment and thus your reporting. So discount reason breakdown. So if we click on to view, again, I'm just going to keep it for today, just to keep it nice and simple. And we can see there, so we're using that birthday 10%. So the amount received was £45 and the discount given was £5. So that was obviously, yeah, we can see that there, a 10% discount. Now that's great because we can see people are taking us up on that birthday discount. But you may wish to run this for the last 6 months and just think, well, I've been running my birthday discount for 6 months, 7 months. How many people are using it? Okay, we don't seem to be getting a great deal of people taking us up on it. For that particular discount, the 10% birthday, do we have people's birthdays in the system? Well, of course, we looked at earlier how to add in the new client card layout, how to add in email addresses, how to add in birthday information, birthday, birth month, birth year. And it may also be that people just aren't using the discount. Do we run it? Do we want to run it again? It may be you're going to do a Christmas one and then you run it in Jan, Feb, and March and think, that didn't really work for us. We'll try something different next year or the end of this year, so to speak. So it's a great way to see if we are giving discount. Is it working for us? And do we want to run that discount again? Perfect. So that's quite a few reports. I've went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I went through about 7 to 8. Now I tried to get through as many as possible. But I am just going to very quickly show you something in the way of key performance indicators or net promoter scores. So just very quickly for the next couple of minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up my internet page and I'm going to go to my online console. Okay, and that can be found at console.shortcutssoftware.com. Console.shortcutssoftware.com. Now, if you do have ratings and reviews set up to go out automatically, that will come in the way as a spotlight, and we can see that just here in the top left-hand corner. So if a client is rating and reviewing you, this is what they will get. And that gives us what we call a net promoter score. So just very quickly, A net promoter score is when they score you out of 10. Okay, so if they do rate and review through Spotlight and My Local Salon, they will score you out of 10. So if they score you between 8 and 10, that is what we refer to as a promoter. If they score you between 6 and 8, that is what we refer to as a passive, because it's somewhere in the middle. Now, if they score you between 0 to 6, that is what we refer to as a detractor. Now, to get your net promoter score, and we would always look for around 85% or more, to get your net promoter score, we take the percentage of your promoters and take it away from your percentage of your detractors. And we can see that just there. The percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors gives us your net promoter score. And this does this at the end of each month because we need a full month's worth of data to get all of that. So that's a great way moving forward. If you want to see how people are rating and reviewing you, if you do have that set up, that is a fantastic way to have a look at that KPI, that net promoter score just there. And then last but not least, if you're using the Cloud Appointment Book, a fantastic report is the dashboard. So if you do want to navigate to the Cloud Appointment Book, it is just pos.shortcutssoftware.com, pos.shortcutssoftware.com. Now, a fantastic report to look at here is the dashboard, and this can be found at the center top of your screen. Now, this particular report is great because it is cloud-based. Whatever date range we have here, it will compare it with that date range to the year prior to it. Okay. Now, it won't be the exact days of the week. It will be the dates to better suit for seasonal events and things like that. You can also filter employees and inclusive or exclusive of tax as well. So for our KPIs at the top here, we have our key performance indicators, our KPIs, 10 KPI tiles. And in the top right, you'll also notice we have a percentage. Now, if you can see, we have a red square in the top right with an arrow facing downwards. That means we have decreased 5 or more percent on the date range the year prior to it. If we have a green square with an arrow facing upwards, that means we've increased 5% or more on the date range of the year prior to it. I don't think I have one here, but if you had an orange, that means you're on par, anywhere between 0 to 5%. You're on par with the same date range of the year prior to it. So we've got our net sales at the top here. This is your service and your retail. We've also got the average per ticket. That's the average expenditure per ticket. Visits and new customer visits. So from 8 visits, 5 of them were brand new customers. We can then also see a rebooking percentage. So we had 8 visits and nobody rebooked, unfortunately. Service sales, again, 8 service tickets and £554. And retail sales, and we can see we're down a lot on the year prior to it. Retail items per ticket, retail conversion percentage. So this is if a customer was booked in for a service and they also purchased retail. So a great way to see, okay, well, that customer was only coming in for a service, but they had a retail conversion. They also purchased retail. And we've also got an upsell, which again is those same there. So again, if they were booked in for a service, but also purchased retail, so we can see that just there. But it's also if they had a service added on at the point of sale screen. So maybe they were added in for a routine and you added on a blow dry. It will also work if they have a service pre-booked sometime in the past and they had a service added on the day before. So maybe I booked a routine 6 weeks ago and a day before I rang up and I said, can I also add a blow dryer? That is also classed as an upsell. But majority of the time it will be if you add a service on at the point of sale screen. So you do a consultation with them, they're booked in for a routine and they're going to have a treatment as well. You add that on at the point of sale screen. That is then classed as an upsell. So you got your 10 KPI tiles there. Then underneath, we've also got our pie chart. So a great way then to see where's the majority of our revenue coming in. So we can see here, we're looking into the future. We're looking at a date range here. I've got quite a bit of money booked in the way of pre-booked services. I then got my money service here. These are previous services. And then retail, and then other in the way of account payments and sundries and things like that. Booking, visit, and source. So this is a great way to see where is the money coming in, and how are people then booking appointments? Are they using your online booking? Are they, put that back in there. Are they using Shortcuts Cloud? Are they using the mobile guest app, or are they using Fusion, your main shortcut system? If you have unknown, it's typically things like Google Reserve or the Anywhere app if you're using the Anywhere app. This is a great way then to say, okay, well, the majority of our clients are making appointments through Fusion. They're not really using the cloud, they're not really using the guest app. So do we then need to market that? Do we need to let our customers know? Do we need to give them the QR code to make them make appointments through there? And then we can see our clients' visits by status as well. Just there are new clients and our returning customers. Because of course, we always want those returning customers, but we want those new customers as well for our business to grow. Underneath, we've got the employee performance, very similar to the performance summary we looked at around 20 minutes ago. And we've also got audit actions again. We've got those no-shows just there. Now, if you are looking at this and you notice you've got quite a high percentage, or quite a high value, I should say, in the way of cancelled appointments, it could be that you're doing something like this. So if a customer is booked in and you were to right click, delete, and do client cancellation, but then rebook them back in, because technically they cancelled, but they're actually rebooking. Remember, this is a cloud-based KPI dashboard. It will pull that through as a cancellation. So just remember, if you are cancelling appointments to rebook them and you want to ensure this is nice and accurate, please be aware if you do reschedule your clients by cancelling them and then rebooking them back in, it will pull through here. So with that being said, I would always recommend you reschedule your clients by either left clicking or right clicking and choosing the reschedule option just here. That will then not affect your cloud dashboard because we haven't technically cancelled the appointment. So there we have it, ladies and gents. So that is our essential business reporting and our KPIs. If you do have any questions, I saw a couple come through. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to drop those across to me now. I'm just going to answer the few that I had come through. So thank you ever so much for watching. It's been a pleasure. Perfect. Great stuff. Thank you very, very much. It's a tricky one, isn't it, with something like that? I think all too often we just pop in a date range of sort of this month and then we think, oh, no one's returned. But then when we think about it, literally, we've not given anybody a chance to return. So just always make sure you give them at least a 90-day window to return. Excellent stuff. Any other questions for me this morning, ladies and gents? Okay, perfect. Steve. Not the, can you pull that report on the online portal? The client retention, no, you can't do client retention on the POS on this one here. No, you can't do client retention on this one, unfortunately. You can do rebooking percentage and things like that, but client retention, I will just have a quick look, but no, I don't think you can do client retention. Let's have a quick look, but I'm pretty sure you can't do. No client retention on the POS side of things. All done through Fusion. Yes, could you take us through the rebooking report on the online portal? The only one there really is on the POS side of things. We are actually going to be doing a cloud masterclass very soon, where I will cover all of the reports in the cloud side of things. Really, in terms of rebooking, it's not a specific rebooking per se. It actually falls firstly into the dashboard just here. Now, rebooking does work ever so slightly different in the cloud. A rebooking will be even if they didn't make an appointment at the point of sale screen, for example, but they go home and they make an appointment online. Anything up until the end of the day, or I believe it's up till midday the next day, even if they make an appointment later on or ring up, it's still classed as a rebooking. Whereas in Shortcuts Fusion, for the rebooking report to work, you will have to have the rebooking credits assigned. Now, not everyone has that, which is why I often point people to the rebooking percentage just here. Because if I go home and I check my diary and I ring up and I say, okay, cool, actually I am going to rebook, it's still classed as a rebooking in the cloud, which is why I would always say, if you want to track rebookings, this is a much more accurate way to do it. So that would be the first way to track rebooking in the online portal. The other way would be to go to menu, reports, and then things like employee performance. Again, it's very similar to the performance summary report we looked at. But for example, we can see at the top here, so you'll have a rebooking and rebooking percentage just at the top here as well, which will be the same data as what we looked at in the dashboard a couple of seconds ago of the online portal. But it's rebooking amount and rebooking percentage. And now again, if you notice the figures are different between this and Fusion, it's because in Fusion you have to have a rebooking credit assigned. If you're using that, you'll know what that is. If you're not using it, not really a problem. But if a client does make an appointment later on that day, or rings up or books online, it's still classed as a rebooking percentage in the dashboard, as we just saw, and here as well. And then you got like your total and things like that, which shows a lot more information. But when we do our cloud masterclass, so stay tuned for our cloud masterclass, we'll go through all of these reports specifically for the cloud, and we'll go through things like hours and service reporting category. But hopefully that answers the question on the rebooking side of things. If you are concentrating or you're hot on the rebookings, definitely use the cloud, definitely use the online portal, whether that be this report here or the dashboard at the top. They're definitely the ones I would be looking at. But also as well, on the flip side, if you're noticing rebookings are low, whether it be here or wherever it may be, if you are noticing rebookings low, do keep an eye on that client retention, because it may just be that the clients just are not rebooking until a week or 2 weeks later. So they are still returning to that employee, but they're just not rebooking. For instance, I used to work with a lady many, many years ago. Her rebookings were always very, very low, but her client retention was massive. And that was quite literally because the majority of her clients were men, and they didn't rebook until a week or 2 weeks down the line. So rebookings were low, but client retention was astronomically high. So do look at both sides of the scale. If you are looking at rebookings and things like that, it's always worth taking a look at client retention as well. No problem. You're very welcome. Excellent stuff. So I think that might be all of the questions for this morning. If you do have anything else, do drop us an email at education@shortcuts.co.uk. And remember as well, do give us a follow on Instagram. In the next week or so, we will be releasing November's, actually it'll be this week, sorry. We'll be releasing November's masterclasses in the next couple of days. So do stay tuned for those, but always remember you will see those advertised on Facebook and Instagram a couple of days before. So hopefully you can all join me moving forward. We're going to start talking about our Christmas ones. We're going to start talking about gift certificates. We're going to be doing the cloud in much more detail as well. So thank you ever so much for joining me this morning. It's been a pleasure speaking to you all. Hopefully you'll be able to join me through November as well when we do those masterclasses. Have a very happy Halloween for today and tomorrow. And I shall speak to you all again soon. Thank you ever so much. Bye-bye for now.